Hey guys, welcome back. We're back with another weekly Q&A video. This is Season 2, Episode 16. And we can go ahead and get right into the questions right away. First one comes from Lisa Peacock. And they say, at bdckr, y'all might have answered this, but are y'all going to keep doing Injustices when Injustice 2 comes out? And keep up the good work. Now, Lisa Peacock's been a long-time commenter, so we know her pretty well.
We like to think so. As much as we can know through the comments.
We know of her.
And so
we've heard tale.
Yeah. Again, thank you very much. But the answer is probably.
Yeah.
So I guess if we look at what's happening. I mean, we've been doing this now for a few years. So the audience for our videos and our enthusiasm for the game, actually both, depends on new content. So as long as there's new content for the original Injustice, I think we probably will. And Injustice seems to have life that's completely independent of the console, right? It's
yeah.
The unlocks used to be the key part of it, but I think they've done enough with the game that it's actually been really...
Yeah, I think initially it was advertising almost, and it's become like a cool thing in its own right.
So basically my main hope is that Injustice 2 doesn't take away from the work that, or the attention that Injustice 1 gets. And this is really weird, right? Because it's almost... I mean, I don't want to make light of the fact that, you know, World War II and World War One were really huge things, but calling Injustice 1...
That's a great way to start saying something. That's a good...
But it feels like it's weird calling it Injustice 1 to make the distinction, because up until now, it was just Injustice. It was the game, and this is all it was.
The only thing, yeah.
Yeah, so it's just weird, but it is Injustice 1, so let's hope they keep putting in the work for Injustice 1 anyway, sorry.
Yeah. So the next question comes from Bishwa Abhinav, and they say, haha, gotcha. Thank you so much for clarifying, guys. Thumbnails. And this was in our weekly update, our Q&A, where we talked about what we do for thumbnails.
Yeah.
Great video, guys. Just, I can't get it. Why you guys always have weak AIs while playing multiplayer. In this video, I guess is the first time you faced some tough AIs. All the best.
Alright, so maybe it is tough AIs, and maybe it's not. My feeling is actually, it's just that we set up this team originally to really take advantage of their passives. So Containment Doomsday, even though he's got the matchmaker bases it on stats, what it ignores is that his passive gives him a lot of extra health, like functional health, and it actually increases his damage as you go further along. So when you make a mistake with this team, you still don't lose because you've still got so much in reserve. And Ultra will flash too, right? Because his bullet time passive basically gives you a bunch of free swipe attacks. What we're seeing now actually is the matchmaker is still pretty much the same.
Yeah.
But because our Regime Green Lantern was breakthrough, and he's at
Boosted
Elite
up,
10,
yeah.
And he's 55, I think. We're getting matched against stronger guys. So the strong guys, when you make a mistake, it's not nearly as forgiving. It does take a little bit longer. And I guess part of the reason we're sort of demonstrating here is that we've got some different guys, and because it's a relatively unbalanced team where Injustice 2 Superman, and we've played this team before, but we're grinding for the season for the Blackest Night Superman, that it's actually a lot harder, not necessarily because the competition is any better or the AI is any better, but because the teams we're facing are matched up against Injustice 2 Superman, so our backup guys, Wonder Woman and Superman, aren't nearly as good.
Yeah, so there you go. That's the answer to that. Next one's a two-parter. MrFrost says, there's no Friday in the thumbnail. And Jack/John Carpenter says, what about Friday and Saturday? And then in brackets, in the thumbnail. And this is referring to our specialist Flashpoint Batman video.
And again, I want to say nice job on that thumbnail. That was excellent.
I'm liking Photoshop so far. I'm not good at it yet, but I'm liking just messing around with it a little
fun,
bit.
Eh?
Yeah, it can be a lot of fun.
All right, so we actually pulled that graphic from the specials. That's, if it's not obvious to you, that's from restaurants. And restaurants typically offer specials in order to draw customers. So the biggest restaurant going night for most people is Friday and Saturday. For most restaurants, is Friday and Saturday. So they don't actually need to have specials to attract people. So
that's a little meta game.
Yeah, so it's not sort of the game thing, but it's a life kind of thing where it's not that we chose to not put Friday and Saturday, that we forgot it. It actually exists like that. And the specific reason is because of people actually go out anyways on Friday, Saturday, so they don't need anything special.
Yeah, and to be fair, the other answer is that we stole it from somewhere on the internet, and we felt like that looked nice. The base board of that looked nice, and it didn't have those days on it, so we didn't have those days in the Photoshop. That's it, or I guess in the thumbnail. But anyways, that's that. The next is another chunk of questions. The Motolani says, I don't use Flashpoint Batman because his health doesn't correlate to his power. And then he comments again on a different comment. Godfall, Superman, Tank, Doomsday, and Green Lantern for power gen. And then we have a comment from Arshid, alibhai. And they say, in my opinion, he is a one-trick pony. Doesn't suit my style of playing. I've been mopping the floor with him on multiplayer, trying to figure out how to build a team around him.
So that's, again, another reference to Flashpoint Batman. So
yeah, these are all in the Flashpoint Batman.
So the most important thing, I think, is that there aren't any right or wrong answers. Who you use and in what role you use them completely depends on who you want to play. But, that being said, I think Flashpoint Batman is probably the best single basic damage dealer right now. Because his destructive blows means no one else does higher basic damage if you have crit chance on the attacks.
Yeah.
And there aren't many, if there are any, with a higher base damage stat. I think his the highest. I'd have to look at that.
Oh man, I don't know. I really couldn't say.
It would depend on the calculation with Injustice 2 Superman, and I mean, we're talking everything else being equal and augmentations and stuff. I think he might actually still be the highest.
Yeah.
And he juggles like all the other Batmans. In other words, he's really, really fast, right? He's got a short latency, and his recovery period, his refractor period is short. So, and here's the thing. I mean, you can't have everything perfect, right? When you say his health doesn't correlate with his power, his max potential health at level 60, Elite 10, with max augmentations is 179,000.
Yeah.
So, listen, there's obviously going to be cards with higher health, but there aren't many cards that can be as good at dealing damage while being able to tank. So, any card that's got one, typically you have to make a compromise in another place. So, most cards that can deal that kind of damage aren't going to be a good tank, except maybe, I think Injustice 2 Superman, I think,
well, yeah,
count as a tank.
He's got 186,000 health right here, and he can tank one special.
Because it's, right, and he tanks in and out.
Yeah.
And so, he's probably the exception.
There we go. And so, the question that we're going to end today's episode, or I guess this week's, it's this week's and today's, because it's going up on today.
Yeah.
But it's also for the week. Comes from Christian Spring. And he says, I tried Injustice 2 mobile version. I didn't like it. It, in my opinion, is an aborted attempt at Injustice. With that in mind, if they continued with Injustice 2 and got rid of the Injustice app, could we still play the game but lose anything dealing with updates, online, Survivor, and possible store, or not? Theories?
All right, so this actually, I don't mind talking about this. This is kind of stuff that's normally I avoid speculating, but I think we've actually got some really good information. All right, so
because I think the best thing is that they've done this before, right? Injustice isn't their only thing. There was an Arkham Origins game that was very similar to this.
Right.
We have WWE Immortals. We have Mortal Kombat X, right? So we have actually a bunch of different times where they've done essentially variations on this theme, and we've seen what they've done with them.
Yep. So maybe anyone else who's playing, because I'm going to use WWE Immortals as my prime example. Maybe anybody else who's playing can chime in, who's still playing. But I just took a look at the official WB Immortals board, and it seems like basically it's exactly what you're talking about. Not that the new games come out, but that they've stopped really releasing any kind of new content. I mean, I think a few months back they had a new WWE event, Backlash, and they released new gear for it. But other than that, it's recycling the challenges, recycling the booster packs, and they've had online seasons, but it's still the same rewards over and over.
So there's no real reason to keep coming back to the game once you've gotten what you've wanted.
Yeah, and so it's definitely playable, right? So yeah, they probably wouldn't do updates, but they'd probably still have online. All the modes would still be there. Yeah,
the actual cost of maintaining a server for a short while, when you can probably use pretty much like the same servers, right?
Yeah.
That you're using for your other games, means that it's not likely that they're going to just take them down unless they took down like a lot of their online functionality, like for example for all the mobile games.
And part of me thinks we've been spoiled a little bit. It's not really a problem because I've enjoyed it so much, but it raises our expectations when there's so many updates and so much new content constantly.
Yeah.
So then when it slows down, instead of seeing it as a chance to catch up on stuff that you couldn't otherwise get except for maybe glitches. Like playing legitimately would be like such a grind. I think it would literally take years and years and years of play to max out your roster. And if they release new content, I'm not suggesting that they do, because like I said, I love having new content.
Yeah.
But if they slowed it down a bit and released, only one or at most 2 new characters every update, think how much longer this would have been. The number of new characters they've pushed out could have easily lasted twice as long.
For sure, yeah. And so WWE Immortals is a really good example to look to for an example of a game that was styled after this Injustice, right?
Mm-hmm.
That
Injustice 1.
Injustice 1 that is no longer being supported. And the game that they did for Arkham Knight is a great example of something that was never meant to have the kind of reach or longevity of Injustice 1, right?
Right.
So they made a game that had essentially the same mechanics, pretty much this kind of same basic game, except there was only one character that you could play as Batman, and you're fighting a lot of grunts and stuff. So they changed the formula a little bit to, I guess, more closely mimic the formula.
And you played that a bit.
And I played it, and it was okay. I stopped playing it when I realized that it was basically Injustice, except I didn't have any of my progress, and it was worse because there was only one character, so there was only one energy set, really. So, they made that with essentially the intention of it being what, a lot of these games are, which is console unlock, a way for you to pair it with your WBID and get some extra stuff on one if you play it on the other kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And just a little bit of free or cheap, well, not free advertising, but a little bit of advertising, right? Where
like tie-in.
They have the possibility to make their money back with in-app purchases. They have the possibility to actually make a game that people enjoy playing, right? And they also essentially get advertising for the money that they put into it. So that's what that game was like. And I haven't seen too much about Injustice 2. From the look of it, they're trying to style it a lot more closely to this.
Just so I want to make the point, the reason why I blocked that one instead of just eating the special and using up his shield was because Flashpoint Batman has the gear loadout, where if he comes in and stuns and does it, which he did not do here, then we're screwed. So I left that shield to protect against him.
Yeah, so
all right, sorry.
From what I've seen of Injustice 2, though, it is looking like it's meant to have a little bit more staying power, which is potentially worse for this version of Injustice, potentially worse news. But from what I've seen, I think they really are going to be maintaining this as their flagship. And I feel like at the end of the day, they get that a lot of their other stuff hasn't had the reach or the staying power that this has.
Yeah, this is ridiculously unusual, I think, for a game to have this kind of longevity.
So I feel like with their understanding of that, I don't think they want to abandon this any more than we want them to abandon it.
Yeah, I think what would tell us more whether they're actually going to continue with this, which we have no access to, is what their numbers are, like what kind of sales they're making, what kind of income it's generating. Because it's no longer a tie-in to advertise for a console game; it's its own thing.
Yeah, and to be fair, I think one good sign, Flashpoint Batman. We're getting a new set of characters that are all meant to have their abilities tie into each other.
Yeah. And
even if they release it, only half as fast, like you were saying, right? That's actually enough to sustain it.
Yeah.
So, if what people are saying is true, it looks like not a lot of fans of Injustice 1 are going to convert to Injustice 2. And if it truly isn't as good of a game, people will abandon it. So at the end of the day, you have to vote with your eyes and vote with your purchases. So if you were going to, say, support them, if you've put a lot of time into the game and you like it and you want to buy recharge cards, or if you want to buy like a pack to get a character early, go ahead and do that. But make sure that if you don't like Injustice 2 that much, don't play it, right? So that they know that this is where the fan base is at. And if you're going to buy in-app purchases, buy them here, right?
Yeah.
And kind of show them that this is the content that you want to see. And you don't have to do that. There's no kind of like special pressure. It's not like if you don't do this, they're not going to support this game anymore. It's probably like you as an individual consumer probably aren't going to change their decision. And even if everybody who watched this video acted that way, that probably wouldn't even be enough people to change their decision either. But
Right.
it's, I think, important to at least think about it critically, right? To be able to recognize what decisions you are making as far as playing a game, not playing a game, buying in-app purchases, where you choose to buy in-app purchases, all that stuff says something about the game to the people making it. So that's really what you can do for Warner Brothers, or you can tell them directly, hey, I really like your game. But I think maybe things won't be exactly the same, but I think things will still be good.
For a while.
Yeah.
We've got at least a few months left.
I'm a little more optimistic than that. But anyways, that was the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thanks for sticking around for the whole video if you did. We'll see you next time. Komodo.